All right, we are live. This is very exciting. We are launching a boycott meat campaign in solidarity with slaughterhouse workers who are dying. As of June 24th, 99 slaughterhouse workers have been reported killed by COVID-19. That is just the ones we know about. So we have an incredible panel. I want to start with Dr. Neil Barnard and talk to Dr. Neil about this crisis. Dr. Neil.
Well, first of all, Jane, thank you so much for including me in today's program. I share your concern. Since the COVID-19 pandemic has arisen, the places that have been hit the hardest are often in a single building where the animals are brought in. They are dismembered by people who are underpaid. They're working under very dangerous conditions, and the product they produce ends up killing people as it goes out the exit doors. I'm talking about the meat products that are sent out to grocery stores. The facts are, is exactly as you have said. Tens of thousands of workers have now tested positive for COVID-19. As of last week, we have 99 of them dead. When you look at the meat inspectors, the people who are supposedly in charge of hygiene in the slaughterhouses, we have had, at last count, 200 of them have tested positive for COVID, and 5 died before they stopped reporting the numbers on them. So what that means is that these are dangerous places for the workers. However, it's more than that. The product that they produce, I'm talking about the chicken carcasses and pig carcasses and beef carcasses and so forth, that ends up in stores, fuel epidemics in their own right of diabetes and hypertension and obesity, and those all make COVID more deadly. So job one has got to be to close down these slaughterhouses for the workers, for the animals, for our health.
Well, you said it very well, and you were there, Dr. Neil, at the announcement of this, a news conference that was held virtually, and it was a coalition of something like 37 organizations, including People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. You're represented here by Ashley Byrne, who is an incredible activist out of New York. Why do you think it's important, Ashley, to be part of this coalition? And as you talk about that, I'm going to put up some of the banners that have been created that really show that essentially, for the sake of our planet, for the sake of workers' health, for human health, of consumers, and for the health of animals, we need to transition to meatless plants, Ashley.
Absolutely. And Jane, I think we already know that pigs and cows and chickens whose lives end in these slaughterhouses are unique individuals who feel pain and love and joy and fear, just like dogs and cats. And we know that they are victims, but the workers who work in these places are victims as well. They are treated like dirt. They have to come to work when they're sick because they don't get any paid sick time. The conditions that they're working in make it almost impossible to avoid catching viruses and getting sick in other ways. I mean, in addition to working very close together on these kill lines, they're surrounded by blood and feces, and just it is the most just unhealthy, dangerous working condition. And it's really enough. We are past the point where there is any excuse, not that there ever has been, for humans or animals to be victims of these places anymore. And PETA has, PETA was very glad to join the League of United Latin American Citizens, the largest and oldest Hispanic membership organization in the country, to call for a meat boycott. And we have been calling on the big meat producers to start producing vegan meats, to switch their production to vegan meats only, and to just end this sickening industry once and for all.
And you're seeing a full-page ad that PETA placed in the Washington Post and other major publications that says, America, it's time to move away from meat. And, this was right around the time when Tyson actually put full-page ads in newspapers saying, our food system's breaking down. We need to have these slaughterhouses open, essentially was their message, because we need to feed people. Then the president invoked the Defense Protection Act and determined that slaughterhouses were critical infrastructure. And so essentially that robbed a lot of these workers of their legal protections. And what they're saying is we're not essential workers because meat is not an essential product, Ellen Dent. You are representing the SAVE movement, which is a global movement. What say you about this entire issue where these people are being treated like disposable objects, just like the animals, on the guise that this is an essential product, when even when they are going and they're dying, the meat companies are exporting their product overseas. So much for feeding America.
I mean, it's awful. These slaughterhouse workers should not have to be at work right now. Like you said, this is not an essential business. They should not have to risk their lives in order to work, in order to provide for their families, because they don't know that there's any other way a lot of times. And so they're in these places, in these horrible conditions, like Ashley described. And their lives are already in danger anyways, just working in these places. A lot of times they get injuries that are either, debilitating for the rest of their lives, or they could die just working in these places, minus any pandemic, minus COVID-19. And now we're seeing a rise of cases inside of these plants because of these working conditions. And at the particular slaughterhouse that we've been bearing witness at of baby pigs for over 2 years now, we're seeing a full-on outbreak that is larger than any residential outbreak in LA County. So it's just awful. It's indescribable what these people go through just to live, just to survive. And now they're up against COVID-19 and business that should not be open right now. We need to shut down all of these slaughterhouses, all of these meat packing plants for the sake of these people, for the sake of the animals, and for the sake of basically everything that we know and love.
Thank you, Ellen Dent, representing the SAVE movement in this coalition to boycott meat. Now, I want to ask Dr. Neil Barnard, president of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, about the mental attitude, the psychological, the attitude toward these workers. The president's health secretary said, well, it's workers' home lives, not working conditions, that are responsible for coronavirus outbreaks in the meatpacking plants. And then this horror also revealed that poultry workers are denied bathroom breaks and have to wear diapers in many cases. This was a report done by Oxfam, but it actually became news once all these workers started dying in these slaughterhouses. The disrespect with which these workers are treated is mind-boggling.
Well, it's certainly true. I have to say, when we were looking specifically in South Dakota, more than half the cases of COVID-19 in the entire state of South Dakota occurred in one single building, and that was the Smithfield Slaughterhouse in Sioux Falls. And we were trying to understand, why is it that the slaughterhouse, having been closed, was now going to be reopening? And it's not entirely because of the president's so-called order, because if you look at the language of the order, he clearly does not have the authority to open those slaughterhouses again. He may be president, he's not a dictator, he actually doesn't have that power. What I think has happened is that the big motivation was on the part of slaughterhouse management, that if they could reopen the slaughterhouses, the money flows again, and I am guessing that they could make a case for, in the event that somebody was sick or died, they could say, well, the government made us do it. And under some of these defense acts, there is a certain amount of liability protection for businesses that are involved. So I'm guessing that they saw this as in their economic interest for those two reasons. That said, it is not only the workers who need to be concerned, and we've been highlighting that, and with good reason, because so many have gotten sick and died. But there's another piece of this, and that people are not thinking about it. Obviously, the virus began by consuming animals at live markets, from bats to perhaps pangolins and through other animals. And if people did not have a habit of consuming animals, viruses would be much less likely to jump from animal to human. In addition, consuming animals makes the underlying conditions worse, like diabetes and hypertension. That makes the virus worse. But there's another piece of this. If you're a slaughterhouse worker, and in really the best estimates we've seen, as many as 1 in 20 slaughterhouse workers is carrying the virus anyway. They're not necessarily symptomatic, but they've got it. They cough, they might sneeze, they're breathing in any case. The virus can be airborne and it can then get on the carcasses that are then wrapped up and sent out. Now, the government might like to believe that the virus can't be transmitted by food. What they mean is it's not normally acquired by swallowing it. But the virus can be transmitted by meat very, very easily in the following way. If you take the virus, put it on steel or tile or cardboard, it doesn't last very long. It would be gone within a matter of days. However, if you refrigerate it and put it in a nice moist carcass like a dead chicken or pork product, at refrigeration temperatures, typically less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit or less than 4 degrees Celsius, the virus lasts for weeks and weeks and weeks. If you freeze it, it lasts indefinitely. So the carcasses are sent out, or the meat products are sent out, they end up in Safeway and Kroger and Publix, where a family member picks it up, touches it with their hands, then they get it home, they touch their face, they might touch their eye, and that's how we then auto-inoculate with the disease. So I'm trying to cheer everybody up with this horrible news. It's terrible for the workers, it's terrible for the animals, but it may also be a way of transmitting the virus into our homes in a very, very dangerous way.
That is so scary. Dr. Moran, I know you have something else that you have to go to. I want to thank you so much. Let's give Dr. Neal a round of applause for attending.
Thanks for letting me be part of this.
You are amazing, and it's so wonderful that you are a part of this Boycott Meat Coalition, sir. Thank you, and talk soon.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks to everybody for all the great work you're doing.
All right, thank you. So let me ask you, Victoria Moran, you're one of the people you were at the news conference, you were sort of emceeing the entire thing, and you've been at all the meetings. Where is this going to go from here? What is this boycott going to look like?
The hope is that it is going to be the kind of successful national or global boycott that we've seen, either we lived through or we read about in history class. The Cesar Chavez Great Boycott of the 1960s developed the United Farm Workers Union in much better conditions for farm workers. The anti-apartheid boycotts of South African products were absolutely instrumental in breaking down that system of apartheid. It would have taken lots longer without the boycott. So what we are hoping is to mobilize people who haven't really thought about not eating meat before. So they maybe are not people who have thought about the animal issues or the health issues or the environmental issues. But when you see your neighbors dying because they have to go to work, then this is something that we believe is going to wake up a lot of people who haven't looked at this issue before.
Wow. And you're looking at some of the incredible posters that have been made by the organizations that are really handling this. Now, Ashley, PETA, obviously, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and you are concerned about what's happening to the animals, but sometimes condescendingly, people say things like, well, I don't care about people. But in this case, okay, and I want to show a photograph of a woman who was given to me by one of the organizers who deals with workers. And I have no independent confirmation, but he said this is a worker who has COVID-19. And look at this poor woman. Look at this poor woman. Okay? This is what we're talking about. If you care about people, okay, that is so heartbreaking, Ashley.
Absolutely, Jane. It's devastating. And, you know, that's the thing. The meat industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that clearly does not care about animals or the workers. I mean, that's been something that, you know, I think we've been discussing for years. You know, we've been telling people that this is all interconnected, that if you care about people, you should know that these industries that exploit animals are usually exploiting their workers too. I think that this is just overwhelming evidence in support of that. You know, there has never been a better time, I think, for people to step up and actually show that they do care about workers by boycotting the meat industry, because not only is it a life or death issue right now for so many workers, we also have so many incredible vegan options at our disposal. Nobody needs meat. Meat is not essential by any means. And many meat companies are already making vegan products. They know that their business model and their product is becoming obsolete and is totally unnecessary. So a lot of these companies have already started, sticking their toe into the vegan market. And that's why PETA has written to these companies. We've written to Tyson, Hormel, Sanderson Farms, Maple Leaf Farms, Kraft Heinz, the owners of Smithfield, and ask them to switch to switch their business model to vegan meat production, which is not only going to be better for the billions of animals who just go through the hell of the meat industry and of slaughterhouses every year, but it would be an absolutely different situation for the workers. They wouldn't be working in these hellish conditions where they are so likely to become injured or even to die from the conditions.
I'm going to jump in because we now have Joe Henry. Joe, you are with forwardlatino.org. You're basically the creator of this boycott. So where are we taking this boycott now? You've got 37 organizations approximately that have signed on, but we want to have hundreds of organizations.
Right. Well, we're moving forward on this boycott. We know it's going to take a long time. We're pushing for structural changes, mandatory testing of all meatpacking workers. This is going to take a lot of work. We're building our platform. We know that we have to do more. We're reaching out to workers, their unions, activists across the country. So this is taking time, but I applaud all the efforts done by a number of organizations that are out there. So not only do we have unions, but we have activists, we have members of coalitions from our coalition, vegans, animal rights groups. So this is an amazing coalition and many other groups out there. So we have to connect.
Get involved. We've got a lot of people watching right now. If people want to get involved, how do they get involved, Joe?
Please go to boycottmeat.org. That is our website, or boycottmeat.com, either one of those. Come to our site. We're going to be putting out information. We're going to be doing a lot. People are responding. They have been over the last week. So send us information of who you are. There's a contact page right on our homepage. Let us know who you are. We will get information out to you and help you to find out what you need to do wherever you're located so that you can do the protests, the vigils, send letters to elected leaders, and then connect with workers.
Wow, this is exciting. So is it resonating? Because look, you're talking to right now, everybody you share the panel with, we're all vegan, so we're living proof that meat is not an essential product. Look at me. I haven't had meat in the last time I remember I was 14, and my doctor told me I had to eat a liverwurst sandwich, and that's it. Now I became vegan 24 years ago. I'm accused of having too much energy. Okay, that's my biggest problem. People are like, calm down, you're too loud, you're too energetic. So all of these people here are living proof that meat is not an essential product. There are millions of people living healthier, statistically healthier lives without meat or dairy. But how are the workers themselves responding to this? Because there's so much conditioning going on. People are brainwashed into believing, well, I have to eat it. If you're going to be boycotting meat, you should know you're going to be healthier. It's not a sacrifice.
Sure. And clearly the workers understand this. They understand what we're trying to do. They know that, they need help. And many of these workers and their adult children have been reaching out to us and many other groups for help, for support. And it's very important to note, too, that many of our young people are already approaching the position of being vegans, of having a daily diet without meat. They understand it, they get it. And those of us who are older, we know what it's like to not have meat on a daily basis. So we understand that. But the workers really need our help. They're reaching out to us. Their adult children are reaching out to us. We're providing the education. The other thing is, we've had other events happen right now. The Black Lives Matter movement, really with a lot of many young people, are out there. They're out in the streets. They're protesting. And they also understand that what we're trying to do, and we know that this message will resonate with them too, about the exploitation of workers, about the need for a plant-based diet, how animal rights are crucial right now. So we're getting our message out there. We know we can connect with other groups, and we're going to move forward. We're going to get information out there, and we applaud all the different coalition members that are part of our boycottmeat.com organization.
Thank you. And I want to ask Ellen Dent, because you are involved with the Safe Movement and Animal Alliance Network, two coalition partners, and you go to the vigils, which are here in Los Angeles in a particularly, low-income part of town, almost exclusively serving people of color. What can you tell us about the environmental racism involved in this industry?
I mean, just where it is and who lives around there. There aren't very many residents there. There are actually less residents than there are COVID-19 cases at the slaughterhouse where we bear witness at in that city, just downtown, 10 minutes from downtown Los Angeles. And the people that live around there are of lower socioeconomic status. And they have to live in that smell and grow up in the smell of that slaughterhouse their whole lives. I have met and talked to people that live near there now or grew up there and said that every single day of their life, they literally grew up in the stench of the slaughterhouse. So that's what I can tell you about the environmental area around there.
Wow. Well, Ashley, you represent PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, in this coalition and this live video. PETA has actually done some demonstrations, have they not, where in a very dramatic visual fashion, as is PETA's signature, showing up outside slaughterhouses to make the case that slaughterhouses have become slaughterhouses for people too, in many cases.
Right. We've done a number of different demonstrations since this started outside slaughterhouses, but several of them have featured a Grim Reaper costume, because that is what these companies and these company executives are, really, by forcing these workers to keep coming to work and knowing that they are putting them in deadly conditions. They are essentially the Grim Reaper. And so we wanted to drive that home. And so we've been doing protests with Grim Reapers outside slaughterhouses that are reporting COVID-19 cases around the country. And they've definitely been getting attention, as they should. It should not go unnoticed that these companies are treating their workers as though their lives are disposable. And again, it just goes to show that this is an industry that cares about money, that they care about profits. They do not care about the lives of workers or animals.
And, again, so many people say, well, I'm not an animal rights activist, I care about people. But now if you're a humanitarian, Victoria Moran, Main Street Vegan Academy, which is an incredible academy in New York. I've spoken there, where you actually help people transition into plant-based businesses. What can we do to help these workers transition into non-killing businesses, because they're also suffering tremendously? They suffer from psychological, physical, emotional distress. Imagine if your job was to go in and kill animals 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. Imagine that. And now, knowing that you could be getting COVID-19 too, since slaughterhouses are one of the nation's hotspots of the COVID-19 pandemic. Victoria.
Yeah, I discovered this over 20 years ago when I was undercover for a single day in a rural slaughterhouse. And I went in with, I guess one would say, the typical vegan's attitude of I'm going to see horrendous things go on with animals, and I'm going to really dislike the people who are doing it. I was there 10 minutes when I saw, as somebody else mentioned, there are two groups of workers, of victims here, the animals and the workers. These were people who really had no choice in the kind of work that they would do. They're working in a refrigerator. They're standing ankle deep in blood. They're using very sharp instruments, and they're having to work at a very, very rapid rate. It was a rapid rate over 20 years ago, and it is more rapid today than it's ever been. The slaughterhouse industry traditionally has been among the highest turnover in any industry and the highest injury rate of any industry that OSHA tracks. So it wasn't great before COVID-19. So what we need to do is use the power of the marketplace to change these companies. When people want veggie burgers instead of meat, when people want whole food plant-based, when people want whatever their thing is that is not meat, eggs, and dairy, these places will shut down, not because the meat industry all of a sudden becomes humanitarian for humans or animals, but because their bottom line is what they're looking at. And when people boycott meat, and if we can get that message out to all of our omnivorous friends, family, coworkers, boycott meat. We're not telling you right now you have to do this forever, be like us, be woke. We're just saying for now, with this situation, boycott meat, and let's see what that does.
And take a look at this shot. Now, you might think, well, there's a pastrami sandwich. Why did Jane put up a pastrami sandwich in the middle of this conversation? Well, that is Unreal Deli. That is vegan pastrami that went on Shark Tank. The woman who came up with it is granddaughter of her ancestors ran a deli in New York, and she's a vegan, and she said, I'm going to make vegan pastrami. Mark Cuban, who has become a vegetarian, who we should get involved in this meat boycott, invested in it. He was blown away. So we don't need to kill animals to have the products that we consider meat, Joe.
Correct. We can find other products, other plant-based food, and this is a great time for that to happen. So again, we are urging to make another choice. We know that this will resonate, especially with young people. We know that with our information that we'll be handing out at grocery stores, talking with people on picket lines in front of these slaughterhouses, that we'll get the information out there and will help people understand how meat is not essential.
But
this is a really critical time.
I want to ask you, so people go to boycott meat, they want to join. What exactly, in other words, do you want companies to join? We want organizations to join. We want like the ACLUs and the environmental organizations and the hunger organizations. We want everybody on board. Are we going to be reaching out? You're the leader of this. Are we going to be reaching out to I'm always flabbergasted when hunger organizations don't want to talk about the role of animal agriculture, because animals eat so much more than they produce as food. 3/4 of the soy produced goes into farm animals. 40% of the fish fished goes into farm animals. A huge percentage of the corn goes into farm animals. We could feed those items directly to people who are starving. We could end world hunger, but they don't want to talk about that. Are we going to get them to talk about it? Because you've shown courage, Joe. And I'd like to say that you've gotten some pushback, but you've shown courage. I think you're going to go down in history. You're going to go down in history as somebody who did the math, took off the blinders, and saw the solution. The solution to torturing people, torturing animals, destroying the planet, destroying human health.
Well, Jane, thank you. Thank you for saying all those things. But clearly, the information was out there. With this effort here, we're just connecting the dots. But it's very important for us to be speaking with elected leaders from the local level up to the state and federal government. And we're doing that right now. We're talking with elected leaders. We're talking with environmental groups, again, social justice groups, animal rights groups, farm labor groups. So we're out there talking about this stuff. Just bringing again the information that everybody already knew, but it wasn't until this COVID-19 virus happened that people realized how important the food supply is. But the propaganda that was spread by the administration about meat supposedly being essential, which is not true. So with us fighting that, bringing out the science, having the doctors talk about this and the environmentalists, people are listening. They want to fight back. Clearly, this is happening in other struggles. People want to speak up. They can speak up with their pocketbook, and we can hold elected leaders accountable. So we are connecting the dots. Other groups are coming on board. We're getting farmers to join us again, environmentalists, animal rights groups, social justice groups. We want to get religious groups part of this. They should be part of this. So we're going to continue to move forward. We also need donations. So anybody who wants to donate to our effort, please do donate on our site and reach out to us. We will get the information out to you. And we know that we're going to build a bigger platform in the coming weeks.
You are absolutely right. And I am honored to be part of this. Jane Unchained, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, is working with Joe Enriquez Henry on the Boycott Me campaign, as is PETA, as is Animal Alliance Network, and the state, as is Thinking Academy. And we are going to be doing this every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, highlighting different members of the coalition. And so I hope you go to boycottme.com, sign up, get your organizations involved, share out this video, because we need to let consumers know that they need to take back the power. If they think what's happening is wrong, we're at now. Last question, Joe. Okay, June 24th, when you held the news conference, at least 99 slaughterhouse workers had died and many others were sick. What are the latest stats?
Well, the stats are still building. We don't have exact statistics right now, but we know outbreaks are happening. Here in Iowa, in Storm Lake, 1 out of every 12 citizens in that community has tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. So we know it's breaking out more. It's going to get worse. We look at these other states that have been noted on the national news, Texas as being one of them. So we know where the outbreaks are happening due to these slaughterhouses. So it's continuing to build. We won't always have the information, but we know it's out there. These are Chernobyls.
They are Chernobyls. Thank you, Joe Enriquez Henry. Let's hear it for Joe for starting this. I mean, Joe started this in the hardest place in the world to start it, Iowa. Okay?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's the hardest place in the world to start it. So way to go, Joe. All right. If anybody has anything else to say, now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. This is the first roundtable of our meat boycott, and it's not going to be the last. Go ahead, Victoria.
Yeah, I just want to say that for people who need help in doing this, those of us who have been vegan a long time, we have all sorts of fabulous stuff to eat. It doesn't seem like a problem. But there are people out there who say, okay, well, I had pasta on Monday and I had rice and beans on Tuesday, and now I don't know what to do. And so graduates of Main Street Vegan Academy, these are certified vegan lifestyle coaches and educators, are offering their time for free in English or Spanish to work with the public for people who just don't know what to eat, how to do this affordably, how to find great food that's animal free and that kids will like. So you can find us through the website boycottmeat.com.
Boycottmeat.com. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And I must say, Ellen Death, that hair looks amazing. I did mine. I cut my own bangs, and I'm kind of like freaked out because I don't think I should ever do that again. But thank you on a fun note. But thank you all for joining us. Ashley Byrne in New York, Victoria Moran in New York, Ellen Dent in Los Angeles, Joe Enriquez Henry in Iowa. We're going to do this again next Monday. Share it out, people. Let's boycott meat.
Boycott meat.
Boycott meat.
Boycott meat.
Thank you.